I don't know of anyone who knows the media landscape, Dan, better than you do. Diagnose for us here sort of what we witnessed and where you think this is going. And if you're a candidate who's running for office in 2028, you look back at this and think what?
You've got to do it. You've got to do the podcast. I mean, they're much more impactful than doing a mainstream media interview. I mean, I'd almost frame it this way. Doing a sit-down interview with, let's say, a local news station, right? Sit down, two seats, this and that can hurt you. Meaning, you say something, it gets clipped, it gets used against you again and again and again.
Okay.
In the podcast format, they're getting to know you. It's casual, it's impactful, it's personal, and it can actually, I think, change people's views of someone where they might say, you know, I've got questions, but you know, he was on with Rogan, and he seems like a good guy.
Do you think Trump's folks who saw Trump on Rogan, he changed, their views got changed, or it was more that it was doubled down on, affirmed, and maybe the same for Vice President Harris on Call Her Daddy?
You know, I'd say solidified, right?
Solidified, yeah, that's a good word.
I'd say for Trump in particular on Rogan, I think that there were people who might have been concerned about Trump, who listened to him on Rogan and said, all right, you know, he seems fine. And then Rogan endorses him, right? You know, we've talked a lot about this idea of major media entities endorsing, not endorsing. I know you guys have talked about it on the Hill. I think we all agree that whether the Washington Post endorses someone in a national race or the New York Times doesn't matter. But Joe Rogan endorsing kind of does matter. And that's the difference, is because people feel like they have a very personal relationship with these very powerful and impactful podcasters. And that's different than the mainstream media, which is almost like talking at you as opposed to with you.
So let's stay there for a second. And I don't know if it's the other side of the coin here or the other side of the equation, but I could make the case perhaps one of the most significant moments in the campaign was when Vice President Harris went on The View. Right? And that was obviously, it's on ABC, I believe, very friendly audience, or the hosts were very friendly to her. No, there was no hiding who they wanted, right, to win the presidency. But when she was asked the very basic question, how are you different from President Biden? And she didn't really give an answer. That was sort of an inflection point on the vice president, her campaign, and I think had some voters going, wait a minute, how can't you not answer that question? And I guess the other side of this would be, doesn't that speak to still the power of going on television and how that can shape the narrative or the discussion one way or the other?
So again, I would argue that that's a perfect example of going and doing an interview where it could hurt you, right? Meaning she's going on The View and she's preaching to the choir. Right? The people who watch The View are voting for Kamala Harris. I mean, I don't know what the percentages are, but my guess is it would be in the high 80s of people who watch The View who are going to vote for Kamala.
You might be low there.
Right? So you're going there and you're preaching to the choir, but, you know, it's not an entirely safe space in the sense that you don't know exactly what they're going to ask. You don't know what they're going to throw. And they ask what you should have been expecting, right? A fairly obvious question about how you might be different than the Biden administration, and she flubs it. So now, suddenly, this supposedly friendly interview is now only working against her moving forward, and she really hasn't gained anything from it. So it's that kind of equation that I think that a lot of them are considering at this point when it comes to the decisions about where to talk.
Thank you for watching, and make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.